I love using NixOS and all of the features that you get from it, like Flakes, home managers, and all that stuff to configure the operating system in the first place, configure applications which you want to install, and so on. And that is why I'm creating this video. And also, if you have been watching my other videos, you probably know that I already have been doing videos about NixOS and that I actually utilize it. And from that day, if I will compare it now to today, well, I utilize it pretty much for everything. And I mean for everything. I utilize it for laptop, PC, and for server. And let's go just to Firefox. And I will go to my .files GitHub repository, which you will be able to find pretty much easily on internet. And here I have actually the full configuration system of whatever you see here. So in this video I wanted to talk specifically about what I like about NixOS, why do I keep using it, more or less about the configurations, how I have configured it, and how I see maybe that I will use it in the future, some things that I just can't let off from NixOS. With that I mean that I can't stop using, and whenever I go to the other operating system I start craving them, I really need them, and other stuff. So basically let's first watch how the configuration system is here, how I have configured my operating system. Well, the server, while I have here the configuration, it is not the newest one. I will later update it when I will update and figure out how to use secrets and all of that stuff. So let's go to PC and laptop directory. Here you can see basically they're the same. And when you want to achieve something similar on Arch Linux or Alpine Linux, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Manjaro, I don't know, any other operating system or distribution on Linux, it's very hard to do so. You will need to take so much time and effort in order to do this, and you'll probably forget already lots of the steps you have done. And this is because actually the NixOS does something a little differently. So if we go, we can see imperative versus the functional languages, and you will probably see that it is completely different. While what you almost always see is the imperative languages like Python, C, C++, and all of them, where you say how to do something. I don't think this is a good example. Maybe this one. No, this is way too hard. I think it doesn't really matter. Probably like this. But in imperative programming, you're saying each step of creating or of cooking, for example, the pie. And in NixOS, and you are declaring it in Nix programming language, which we'll get into, and there you basically write the recipe for that cake, and it does it all itself, let's say, figures out. What is actually benefit of using declarative is not really what I wanted. I wanted functional languages. So because of this, because of the functional imperative approach that there are, it may be harder to understand how to write Nix language and how to write in Nix language something if you really want to. And Nix language in itself is not really well documented, and because of this it's very hard if you're trying to get into it. But let's start with the configuration. Yeah, so if we go here, we will go now to, please, here. I have here first Flakes. Let's go to flake.nix. This is essentially a file where I configure everything. I configure here the inputs, which means I configure what do I want to take from the outside. I want to have this packages, this repositories. For example, I want to have Nix community user repository, which I don't really use, but fine. I want to have the Home-Manager, which is if you want to configure home files for dot files. I want a specific applications like Greet, and they have their own Flake, which is like configuration or derivation, how they call it in Nix. And you can input it, and it requires Nix packages. Nix packages is just the repository of Nix. And if we go to Nix packages, you will see that this repository is quite huge. It's the biggest repository for any Linux distribution at all. It has 140,000 packages. And if you don't have it, you can package yourself. You can install it basically on any other operating system. It's just that it's hard because it's non-FHS compliant, which means the hierarchy system for all of the processes and all of that. It's oversimplifying, but still, because I'm also not that good at understanding it, it's basically different than what you're used to on other Linux distributions. Is non-FHS compliant, and FHS compliance is very important for running some applications, especially those ones that need to access system level stuff, and some of them might not work without configurations. You will need to have configuration for that, and this is why it's harder to use NixOS. Basically, you don't need to understand here anything, because at the beginning I didn't understand here neither anything. The configuration, the default configuration, is actually what is the easiest part probably here. If we go now to NixOS modules, this will be the easiest to do, or just in general, I'll go now to hosts, and let's go to Red Panda. This is my laptop's configuration. We will go to configuration.nix. This is the most important configuration. Here I declare everything what I want. I want this Linux kernel. I let it choose default one. I can install a specific one, for example, like Zen or any other that is optimized for gaming or for that one thing the best. But this laptop, I don't need to do here anything, so I let it off like this. I can turn off auto upgrade or turn it on. I can do Nix configurations here to optimize the storage by itself, and declare anything. Networking, firewall, bootloader. Do you want to have this specific languages? In which time zone am I? In which application I want to install? Mouse configuration, touchpad configuration, and all of this. I want to install these packages. I want to have these drivers. And the coolest part is, in imperative operating systems, you say do this, then do this, and with this you say, hey, do echo, for example, do this, and you do this all the time, and then at the one time, for example, a month later, you have already forgot what you have actually done on the operating system. When you install, for example, also an application, you probably know if you want to choose between different window managers, if you want to hop between, for example, GNOME and KDE or anything like that, you will know that I have shipped a lot of packages with them, and it's a lot, it's weighing a lot. And the problem is, probably will install other applications, and there will be other applications that depend on that dependencies which you have installed, and when you uninstall the dependency, the application will be uninstalled, the other application depends on that application, and so there can be this circular pattern where it's like domino effect and everything falls. Or it's just hard because you install one application and it installs different multiple libraries because it needs to, for example, a library for playing music or something, and you don't actually need it. In this case, of course, you will need it, but in other applications, you want to uninstall it, you will uninstall only the application itself. The libraries you will need to uninstall yourself probably. And so yeah, it is hard then to manage. And what have I configured actually? Where is it actually the file for Bluetooth configuration, for hardware configuration, for example, networking or all of that? You need to memorize all of that, and you need to basically have a model inside of your head to understand where it is, and what have I configured last time. And the coolest part here, you have everything in one directory. Everything configured here, and so basically this configuration is your recipe. And the coolest part in recipe, is that you can see what have you done, you can delete the things you didn't need to, and then run update. It will check what you have here, and if for example you said I want to not have anymore this font, or I don't want to have the window manager, for example like GNOME, it will automatically delete it by itself with all of the dependencies. And this is really cool, and I love this so much because, well, it's more organized. If I don't do it now, I will know that I can pick up it later. I can, because I have this configuration. If it's not done till 100%, well, I know where to start from, and I can just say, don't use it yet, use it later when I will finish it. And this is at least something that I have craved on other Linux distributions, because just taking care of so much things, it's really, really hard. And here is also, this is really great distribution for trying out sorts of different things. If you want to jump between different like VMs, which we have talked about, desktop environments or window managers or heavy applications that is very hard to get rid of normally, you can do it really easily. You can change basically any 1 hour or so. You can change the window manager you use or desktop environment. If we go here and I would say, okay, NixOS, how do I actually do GNOME? Because I want to have GNOME. Installing it and deinstalling it is very easy. You just say, okay, Services Display Manager GDM, which is Logging Manager, enable, Desktop Manager GNOME, enable. And that's it. And here you can say, I don't want to have this suite of applications that it provides. You actually need those two things. And that's it. If you don't want to have it, you say here false, or you just get rid of those lines, and it'll automatically do that. The coolest other things are also atomic updates, which means if you have something weird in your configuration here inside of it, and, well, it will not work. Atomic upgrades basically means, like in atoms, you can divide them. You can have something that is a little broken. It needs to be functional in order to be used. And so, if there is something wrong here, it will not update. If everything works, it will update. Pair this with functional programming language and all the other stuff that Nix provides, and you have a completely reproducible operating system, where if it runs on your machine, it runs on other machines, and this is really cool too. And there are other cool stuff, which is, for example, the abstraction. Oh, not the abstraction, which is that whenever you want to install different packages, you want to say, yeah, I'm recording. Okay, if you want to say install different versions of Python and have them all on your PC, you can do that here too, or different application versions. You can have 10 Firefoxes, for example, if you really want to. I don't know why you might want to have this, but you can. And so basically you go to Nix store, and you will see this everything are first the hashes of the application, which are generated randomly. Not really randomly, but which are generated, and here are the names of whatever applications you have here, Mesa, DocBook, and whatever. And all of the applications or packages themselves are isolated from one and another, which means if you have here a Python and another Python version, like here, no, it's not, but for example, yeah, they will not collide with one another, and there will not be such a thing that, oh, I can install that software because it'll override the library because it needs actually a lower or older version of the library, while I have the other application that needs the same library but the newer version, and I can't have 10 or 2 different versions in this case. So yeah, how do you do this? Here is much simpler. Also, the coolest part is, let's go into programming. If we go now to documents, now tag, and now I will go to the where do I want to development. Let's go just to, oh, huh, Wait. Oh, I have everything on my computer. Okay, it doesn't matter, I guess. It's weird, so school. Okay, no, then I have it here. Yeah. Let's do Yazzie so it's easier to see. If I have actually Nix here somewhere file. Yeah, I have Nix shell. So here's, for example, a project from school that I had, which is an AI drone project that we had to do where we need to learn basically anything, like how to manually do control the drone. We needed to write that. There were also other groups that needed to do the AI, which I was in, and we have discarded. We need to use YOLO, and then we needed to basically train it ourselves and all of that stuff. So here, on one machine it will work, on the other machine it will not work, and you don't necessarily can recall anymore what do you need to install in that case. And here I have created a shell file where I have basically written whatever I need to have. I need to have an OpenCV application, and I need to be it with JTK support, which is for GUI, because else it doesn't work on my machine. And then I say, okay, I want this package, OpenCV4, and I need to override it. I need to enable specific feature. Enable GTK3 equals true. And it will compile on my machine, and then it will work. This is really cool. Then Python environment, I can create it really easily. I need to have a Python 3 with packages of OpenCV with GTK that I have compiled here at the previous tab, and also with Pillow support for images, which is Python image library, and also with Hive support of images, because some are using that specific format, which I can't recall anymore why we need it, where we utilized it. But fine. Here, for example, I also declared that I need the pip packages from Python 3.13 libraries. I need Ultralytics, Pygame, PyQt, all of the other, for example, because I'm on Valent and I need support for Xork, and I need those FFmpeg packs to run music and all of that. I have basically included everything, even if it will have worked on my machine, because some libraries I will have had already, like FFmpeg. I still have included it. And now if you have any other computer, you install Nix package manager, or Nix actually the programming language. Also yeah, you can install Nix package manager on any operating system too, because it's isolated by default, so it's very easy to install it on other machines because of that. And you can run it, the script, it will install anything that you need, and there you have it. And this is really cool. You utilize it for everything, because if I want to create this project, for example, let's say in Rust, I want to create this project in C, C++, Python, or any other thing, I don't want to install each single time hundreds of different dependencies. I want to have them specifically in the folder of my project, and whenever I go into it, it'll apply all of those packages. And this is something I utilize all of the time for different projects. And yeah, I love this quite a lot, and I miss it all of the time whenever I'm not on NixOS. There are different ways how to do that, but they're not paired automatically to the operating system level, and they're not as convenient and organized for me, at least, because I have already used NixOS at least. And of course there are lots of different things that I would have liked to talk about, but this video is pretty long. Let's just talk about, just briefly, about how I have configured it so you understand it now. We have default configurations. Those default configurations are actually the easiest to understand probably in NixOS, because the language in itself here is very human readable. I will say it like that. Here you import just the other files that you have. Hardware configuration, which gets generated and basically says what hardware do you have, what GPU, where do you, those labels for all of the disks, and yeah. Also, we have here NixOS modules, default.nix. This is what I have created. It's basically so that I don't have everything just in one configuration file. I have just separated something into a different file. We'll get into it. Here, choosing Linux kernel applications, you see that it's very human readable. I have networking, host name, changing the host name of my operating system. Wow. And firewall, enable and allow specific TCP ports or UDP ports. And I want to have specific local settings. I want to have specific desktop manager enabled. Yeah, I want to have Flatpak enabled. I want to have this specific application enabled and specifically configured for this compositor, which is window manager. In my case, it's Neri. It's very human readable and it's really easy to understand, but when we will get into other things, you will see that it's harder to do. And this is the pitfall probably of the NixOS, which is it's hard to get into and understanding completely yourself. But I will argue, well, nowadays LLMs have gotten to be so good that actually you can just ask it and it will probably get it okay, at least. And when you will see, there are some questions that you don't understand, try to search on the internet. If it feels overwhelming and you can't find anything, question an LLM, because let's be real, if you use it like a tool, it's really cool. And yeah, you can learn a lot with that. You can go, for example, to Claude or any other LLM of your choice specifically. Or you can also go to Discord servers, because there are a lot of others. For example, that like Vimjoyer is a great YouTuber on NixOS. He explains a lot of stuff. He's basically the person of the NixOS, honestly, that explains everything of the NixOS the best. So go watch him if you need help on that, at least. Homepage, we will also take on that later a little. And basically we have here Flakes now. We have configurations to default, now we have Flakes. If you have watched here, you'll probably see those are experimental features, but everybody actually uses them, so yeah. Let's go on Flake. We have log file and Nix file. If you're familiar with other programming languages like Rust or JavaScript, probably it does uses it, I think, or does it uses it with only React or any other framework? I'm not that sure, but there are Node.js, for example, and other programming languages or frameworks or libraries that utilize it. And what it does is a log file for versions that you have installed. You say here, what applications have I installed? Where have I installed it from? And the hash that will be generated, so that you know whenever you want to go and give it to another computer where to install it from, which exact version have you installed. This is to make it more reproducible. And believe it or not, it is not by default in configuration system. It is only provided via Flakes. That's why Flake is the thing and why many other people are utilizing it. Yeah, don't look at how much things have been happening there. I usually do bigger things and then push them, and when I continue work I do a smaller thing, chunks, I don't know. Don't matter. You'll probably see here also we have like Vim, we have Firefox, GNOME team. This is everything for the base 16, for the configuration of the stylex. It doesn't matter, for specific packages. And this is to make it more reproducible. It works on one machine and it works on another machine because you have the same dependencies, and because a newer version of dependencies, there might be some functions that don't exist anymore or that are written a little differently so that it's easier to understand, but because of that, something you have wrote once will not work anymore. And this is why it is utilized here. Now go to flake.nix. Again, now you will see you have also here an input. You have description of describing only for yourself whatever is happening here. This is my main flake, this is my main configuration. And here I have actually paired two hosts, PC, Blue Skies, and laptop, Red Panda. And I can choose and hop between all of them really easily. If we say, for example, here, I will go outside from here, and we'll go where flake.nix is. If I say sudo NixOS rebuild switch -- flake, I can say whether I want to update it for Red Panda, which is for laptop, or whether I want to make it for Blue Skies, which is for PC. And so I can change between different configs with just one click and then go back to whatever I had. And even if I mess something up, NixOS does rollbacks by default. Since you have all of those configurations files, it's very easy to do all of those rollbacks. And yeah, it means something doesn't work, go back to the previous version. It works there, and because this is all in configuration system, you know what you have changed. You can just roll back. And if you have Git or Git repository, no need for specifically GitHub, but for in general, it's a breeze. You can jump between different versions that you have done. It's version controlling and all of that. It's very easily, and it feels really cool. It's like basically all of those application suites, but it's your operating system that you can jump between. It's as if you have made different ISOs, but you don't need any time to uninstall everything in order to jump into it. It's more like a Docker, if you know what I mean by that. It's more like those containerized systems, and this is like I view NixOS, and this is really cool. And because of all of those features, it feels like it's unbreakable. And I don't know what you need to do in order to break it, other than, of course, rmrf the root directory. Okay, but even that you can actually make so that the operating system will work when you remove everything from root directory, because there is a specific way you can actually run NixOS for that case. But that is not what I will cover this video, and I don't think I need it. Wimjoy has made it, I think, impermanent NixOS, where it explodes root on every boot. It's really cool. So you can actually do even that, and then the operating system is just completely unbreakable. I don't know what you need to do with that. So let's go into it. Here we have inputs, and it's the same like I have actually been doing with in hosts Red Panda. In configuration, we have also imports, where we import all of the files that we have here. But here we have as an input, we import other packages or other flakes there are. We import Nix packages, which is a repository where all of those applications work. Now, why do we import it like this? We have Nix packages.url as this URL, and that's it. We have imported Nix packages. Why is it like that? Well, if we go now to Nix packages, yep, you see here are all of the packages you can install. Wait. For example, Firefox. Yeah, and you can install all of them. But Nix packages is actually also a Git repository. If we go here, Nix packages collection and NixOS. Yeah, my internet or laptop is slow right now. I don't know anymore what it is. So basically, it's just like this my GitHub repository here. This is a Git repo, and because of this, it just gets this Nix packages from GitHub, as it says here, NixOS Nix packages. You see this exactly this, and and in the Git repositories, for example, here it doesn't matter if you write this lowercase or not. If I write this, I'll still get to the same page. And this is why it's written here like this. And here is a specific version which we target. This is the newest one. You can jump between unstable. You can even say I want this specific application to be unstable and other ones I want to be stable, or even other ones I want to be from different version of the Nix packages, because you can actually import multiple versions of Nix packages. Yep, you can have Nix packages for this specific version, for 2-year-old version, or if you want to, you can also import the unstable branch, which I will not say it's unstable, but it's really great if you want to have the newest firmware. Yeah, and here I'm basically importing other flakes. Home-Manager is also its flake, and this is the flake that a lot of people utilize. It's like Home-Manager, NixOS. It's what essentially gives you a lot of the options to configure your operating system for home files. Because in Linux, if you go here, this is the home directory. If you go to .config, this is a home directory, and you have here all of the configuration for all of your applications. I have for Mozilla Firefox. I have here for all of the applications like Vancord, which is Discord, for VLC, for Kitty, for Terminal, for Neri, and all of that. And you can completely configure that here with Home-Manager. Yeah, and we have here even wiki for how to install it. Actually, you just define Home-Manager's Git repository, which is here on GitHub, Home-Manager using Nix. This is also just a GitHub repository. You import it as a URL, and that's it. You have it now. We say inputs Nix package as follows, so that instead of having two different Nix packages, which essentially actually copy the same URL, it will follow this Nix packages, which means it will use the packages from this repository whenever it tries to install something. And yeah, so you choose here how to install applications. I have also here Neri Flakes, so that I will be able to configure Neri inside of the Nix configuration system. And then we have like outputs. Here I just have actually an output which I create a package, which is in my case a NeoVim configuration, and you can actually run it on any other operating system as well if you have Nix here. So that's also cool. And here I then configure the configuration for Blue Skies, which is for computer. I say which architecture it is. I say what kind of modules I need to, or what kind of the files I need to import here. Hosts Blue Skies configuration.nix. And then I import all of the actually repositories I have here, or packages, or flakes, or derivations, or modules, however you want to call it. And then we say, okay, we have imported them. We need to here configure the Home-Manager. I have configured it. That's it. Now to Red Panda, do the same thing. That's it. And if I say, for example, okay, as I said here, I want to have sudo NixOS rebuild switch flake Red Panda, it will automatically apply this configuration for Red Panda, because we have created here an option with libs NixOS system. We have created here an option for doing this exactly, and what it will do is basically what we have written here. It'll go now to all of those files in hosts Red Panda, and here we have configuration system, where we have declared everything for the system level, so to say, graphics, firewall, and all of that. I have hardware configuration, which is generated on default, the disks and where they're located, which Linux drivers or initRD kernel modules we need to have by default. Yeah, and we have home.nix. And here I define everything for my home files. And now we have which applications I want to have. Here I have created a script, so I don't need each time to type in terminal, hey, I want to execute my Obsidian application, which is located here, with those features. I have created a shell script binary, which will be called obsidian-x11, and it will apply this automatically startup of the default Obsidian application. Here I configure the NIRI, which is this desktop environment. No, it's window manager, sorry. And here we declare basically everything. You can declare it also in completely the way you will declare the default NIRI with no need to do it in Nix way. But I have done it like this because I thought, why not? And yeah, basically whatever you feel like most comfortable with is how you use NixOS. Do you want to completely go into this path of using Flakes and Home-Manager and all of that, or do you want to skip and use only configurations, which I will be honest, I've used for a year or a little more. I've almost all of the time used only this. But after that, I've thought, well, NixOS, I will better off use anything else because of, I feel like it's more philosophy of the NixOS, how everything should work. And then I've started craving something, the NixOS back, and there were some features, and I didn't like that there are still parts that are not configured here. And when I have discovered then I have tried it out at least with Flakes and Home-Manager because I thought, well, why do I actually need it? I've tried it out and I said, wow, I should have tried it out earlier. And now I configure everything from here. I have here also Stylix, which automatically applies all of the theming for all of the applications, because of which you can see here, this is the wallpaper. The waybar has been applied this font by default. I go here in terminal, it's applied this font too by default, or if not, you can import the fonts, the colors from there. So, and you can also declare hey fonts which you want to install. It's what I have craved. I wanted to have an operating system where I can have a stable experience but be on the cutting edge, and this is exactly what NixOS gives you as an option. You can install this only application or only this application as the newest version, or else everything older, or whatever you actually need. You don't lose view of everything you have configured in your operating system, which is also what I have craved, because after you have configured something, it's very hard to know what you have done, especially when you love to tinker with Linux. And the biggest problem for me was I had always fear of breaking something. That's why I didn't use Arch that often, even though it have not broken for me at all. The Debian broke, but not the Arch Linux. Yeah, the apt package manager with its circular dependencies problems. Yeah, which is also what I have experienced. And here it feels like home, at least for me. Even though I will be honest, also I have tried a couple of times to dive into NixOS, and it was hard at the beginning. And it was at the time when NixOS started to get more attention. And at that time, the documentation was even worse than it is right now, and LLMs weren't as good as they are right now. And so even from them getting information about some options for NixOS, you just couldn't do anything almost with it. So let's say it like that. So if you were stuck till the end, until you maybe find some another person which will tell you how to do something. But if you're a person that doesn't like to socialize, yeah, everyone that Linux uses probably is. No, that was a joke, but still. Then yeah, you have pretty much no other options. But nowadays you have. So this is something at least that is really good. And this is amazing. I have at least now just couple of files, and here I have global modules that I want to have on any operating system. I have here default.nix. It imports this, and this imports other files that we have here, and for example packages.nix, which declare the packages that I want to have on each and single device of mine. And that's cool. I have also configured the server to be also NixOS. While there are many that would say actually all of those features that NixOS provides are the best for a server instead of the computer, I will in some areas agree, because it's very hard to use it in some ways as a computer. At the beginning at least, it's very hard. And it also comes down to your preferences. If you don't mind that your operating system is not organized, and then that you can break something, you do rollbacks manually, for example, or snapshots, they're called like that, on Arch Linux, for example. Yeah, if you didn't care so much about the philosophy of NixOS, you probably would say, you don't actually need it. But for servers, it's essentially a set of tools which a lot of people want to have. And you will see people using Dockers with the specific other packages or applications that will do configuration for them so they can configure it in those like files. I forgot how there is a specific application that is also utilized quite often for configuring everything. And yeah, they try to do something similar, but NixOS is where it shines, I would say, for this specific use case, even though I would say for PC or laptop it has completely overhauled how I use the machine now. And I feel like, I don't want to do anything on my machine. Turn it on, it works, because it has always worked. If I don't want it to update, it hasn't been updated. It is tied to specific those versions of packages and all of that, so even if I want to update, it doesn't work anymore, roll back to the previous version, it now works. If I don't want to have problems with it, I have configured it once and it works. I don't need to touch anything. And if I do want to try out something new, I can do it easily. I can create a new file where it will import those things that I want to configure. And I say, I will do it for later, but now I want to have a completely functional operating system that works at least. I will, from all of the files that I have already done previously, just not import that file anymore, and then you have it. That's it, we'll roll back. And this is such a cool thing. I have craved something like this, but I didn't know how you can possibly achieve something like this. And hey, there are some Linux distributions that can do this, but look at this. I am going now to Nix packages, and let's say I want to have one application installed only for now and delete it immediately. Yeah, because I will not need it anymore. Let's say cowsay, I think. Yeah, cowsay, program which then generates ASCII pictures of cow with a message. Let's say I don't have a cowsay, and I will not need it at all in my system, but I need it right now and then delete it. In other operating systems, you will install this package, like install with apt install cowsay, yeah, and then you will install it. It will install some dependencies. I don't know if cowsay will, but other applications, and then you will need to remove it. And let's say we want to actually do this with Discord or something else. Yeah, you will see where the problems arise. You will have lots of different configurations and all of the different packages that will be with different libraries that will be installed, and when you delete it back, you will have those libraries still lying around, and bro, yeah, this is not ideal. And here you just type Nix shell, which you have already covered, and here you just type p install cowsay. Let's give it a time. Up. Now we have here green because we're inside a virtual environment, so to say, or Nix shell, better to say, cowsay. I forgot, do I need to type something? Yeah, cowsay, hello world. Here you have it. But now we go to another terminal. I don't have it here, where I go exit, and I don't have it here anymore. This is really cool. I think Gentoo has something like this, but I'm not sure if it functions at this level. And I can actually use it for a lot of other stuff. Firefox is, for example, a thing that I have done like this too. So it's inside a shell. And if I try to run here let's just turn on and say Firefox. Hey, I don't have Firefox even though I run it here. And everything will be like deleted. But all of those like still things, like configurations and how's it called? Extensions that I have installed will still be there until I decide to collect garbage. Because here in NixOS, I think at least it does it, doesn't it? Okay, because in NixOS, there is a garbage collector. If you have been working with other programming languages, like for example, Python, Java, not JavaScript, Java, I think JavaScript too, or any other not compiled probably language, but no, the languages that don't give you pointers or memory management and instead do it on their own with all of this, they need to collect garbage. They need to collect those dangle pointers that don't point to anything anymore or point to invalid memory address where something is stored. Well, here we have something similar, but now for packages. And I have configured it actually for my configuration of the system. If we go now to hosts, Red Panda and configuration.nix, you will see GC. GC is garbage collection, which will do automatically, weekly, and it will delete older something that is 7D. I think what here I have installed, it automatically will delete the past generations or rollbacks that have been created, and you can also actually, because of this, like with all of those generations that you have done, you have maybe installed some applications that you don't require anymore, or all of that, it will delete all of those libraries and all of that stuff, as far as I understand, that you actually don't need anymore, that doesn't point to anything, like those dangling pointers, those dangling libraries that are there present but not used by any of your app packages. They will be deleted automatically here. And I will say the garbage collection does collect a lot of the stuff, but it's basically mostly because of the rollbacks, because they weigh a ton. Of course, they weigh, I think, less than those snapshots that you'll take on other operating systems, and they're very fast to create, of course, because they are created automatically and they're much faster than those snapshots. So this is really cool. Now, the last thing, because this video is already too long, servers. Let's SSH into my own server. Wink. This server serves for me a lot of things. We have here homepage. It doesn't show everything because I have yet not configured it. But let's say I want to go to, I have taken actually a picture of my ports because I use it all on my computer, not here. So yeah, I have music. If we go for my machine, and you can see I have here, like, you can see I have basically here the music that I listen to, or just basically that I have installed, top rated favorites, or all of that. Yeah, so you can see it here. So basically this is a music server. Now I also have other stuff. Yeah, it does. I have Radical server for my calendar. I have an RSS server also, which is very interesting, I will say. I don't know if many utilize this, but I do. I hope I will do it more. It's basically fetching the data from all of those websites for blogs and all of that, And if someone has created a blog on our website, well, it will fetch it automatically and I'll be able to read it. While those RSS not always provide everything to 100%, that you see sometimes they don't provide everything and you need to go on the website because they want to have more attention, of course, so that you go on their website to make revenue with ads. It's understandable. Some websites, like NixOS, for example, in my case, show everything, which is cool. And I can read or discover, what should I read right now? Oh, this actually interests me, for example. Yeah, and you can just say, okay. I like it. Let's go to the website and now read completely from here if it's not completely included, but it has been completely included here. So yeah, that is really cool. Now let's go to another service that I have. Yeah, I do have Nextcloud and all of that, but yeah, if you want for me to cover more about the server, I can do that. That will be very interesting actually for me too, and I will yap about that for very long. Let's be clear. What I have here is I haven't yet committed to GitHub because there are in some files secrets that I have not yet managed. And I need to yet learn how to do it properly, but Vinjoy has created a video about that, so I will watch that later on, and I will learn the best way, which I will probably use here, and publish it to GitHub later. So we have here configuration files for what we need to import, all the host name, and under that we'll have all the ports that we will enable for firewall, and we can change it all the time if we need to. That's cool. You can go here, flake.nix, and hey, this is one thing I want to show you. I have actually created a Minecraft server where at one time 15 people were playing, just one time, and now nobody plays with that server because it has died, but fine. And this is a very minimal Flake. Now you'll probably better understand how it works. So we have here a description, we input the NixOS's repository. Hey, it is quite old, I will need to update that. And we import Nix Minecraft, which is a made on GitHub. If we go, wait, GitHub Nix Minecraft, it's a Flake also. And with that, you can create Minecraft servers and configure them via configurations in Nix, and you will have much more options than the default ones you will have. So it provides more options for you. Here, fabric servers, you can have quilt servers, you can have default vanilla servers, you can have paper servers, purple servers, neoforge servers, velocity servers, and you can have the most newest ones, which are like were snapshots, or you can have here the newest ones were 26.12, I think. Yeah, and there are even newer ones. Yeah, but you can do that too, which by default you can't. This provides more options than what by default you have in Nix or NixOS. And hey, I imported here, put it in outputs, because in functional programming languages, I don't know if it's all of the time, but I have seen it to be in Nix, and I have seen it to be in Fortran, I think. Was it Fortran? Wait. Yeah, in Fortran. To be fair, I have only used it for just to know how it functions generally in introduction. I haven't done anything with it, and I don't really plan on, but I figured out it will be very interesting to at least try it out. And we have here also this inputs, what it will take, and output, what it will give out. And here it will create the configuration and where it will import those modules. At least for every functional programming languages I have seen, and those are only two, it does works like this, I think. We have here also packages which you want to install. Yeah, here's weird spacing. I'll need to fix that too. We have users that we declare here. No. Yeah, okay. Here I have configured everything so you can't see anything really. So we have here config.homelab. Weird. Because in config, inside of the configuration, we have HomeLab, I think. We imported. I have done it so long time ago, I've forgotten. But here I can create also options, our own user options. We say, hey, we want for options.homelab to create this specific option, which is user, where we will be able to declare a user, which will be string type, and default it will be assigned to media group. Description is primary user for HomeLab services. This is because some services need to have all of the groups, and because of else, if the user isn't assigned to media group, for example, it can access those specific like Pipewire or all of that media services, and because of which this what you will try to host will not work properly. Yeah, here we have groups, which it's user media, and here's the default will be the group media. And here we define if in config there is no user or and no group, we will define it ourselves here. And basically the $ and bracket sign, if you have already used something with shells, bash scripting or shell scripting, or if you have used JavaScript, or even I think in Python and other programming languages you can do that. Basically just say this is a variable, not a string. That's it. And we use here cfg.user and convert it to string. Yeah. And we added 2 more groups. We say that this shell should be run as bin/bin/shell, or no, they will be added to shell, which is /bin/bash. We'll say where the home lives in var lib media, and create home equals true. I think that's for the other thing which we'll need to have option. So here we have containers, and I have declared here for Podman because Podman has better security, but we can also do it for Docker and for anything else, because there are some packages that you want to declare in container, because or there are newer versions, or there are some applications that work better in Docker or Podman, or they're easier to create since all of the files are already there. You just copy from the official website and all of that. And we have here also an image, which I don't use anymore. Uptime Kuma image I don't use because my server is not that good and I don't have so much space there in order to make it work. I have here modules, for example, Fresh, RSS, Minecraft server, Navidrum, Music, Nextcloud, Radical, Cirx&G, Tailscale, default, Nix, which get imported by configurations, which then imports all of the other files which lives there. So yeah, I have configured it like this. We have then modules where everything is configured via those default.nix, which is like configuration, where you can configure everything, and you can configure, for example, mix Minecraft with those options. Why I can't show anything right now though is because there are a lot of the things that I can show off really, like IP address for the Minecraft server, which I don't really want to host right now so that it will be publicly available or anything, and users which I have added to the whitelist, which the Minecraft server doesn't work, nobody plays there anymore, so I can delete it. Yeah. And yeah, NixOS has completely, at least for me, revolutionized how I use all of that. I can have a configuration on one machine created, use it on my other machine. It works. The same was really cool. I've configured this on computer, and on my laptop, I had Void Linux, and it didn't work at all. I had a lot of troubles because I need to do a lot of manual configurations, and this was at a time when I have decided to have an operating system that doesn't go into my way too much, because I wanted at that time to start working, and at the school I had project and nothing ever worked, and it got too much into my way, and you probably understand what happened there. And so I have one day, multiple days. I've sat down, started configuring the NixOS to my personal taste, and when I have done it, copy all of the configuration to the laptop, install NixOS, press like literally this, write this, but instead of Blue Sky's Red Panda, so it will be configured for laptop, because there are some quite little configurations that will differ, because for example I don't have here, like I don't want here to have NVIDIA drivers to be installed even though I have NVIDIA GPU, because else the battery will not live long enough. And bam! I have now the operating system that looks the same like the computer. And this is really cool. So yeah, I now don't have any fear trying to figure out something. I learned best practices in, for example, managing when the software and you want in C or C++, Rust, or no, in Rust it does manage it itself. Basically, in any other language which doesn't manage libraries via its own like package manager utility via log files like C or C++. I forgot which other programming languages there are that doesn't do it also. You can easily, instead of creating CMake and all of that, you can just create it easily in Nix. Even though probably you will still better off using CMake, because, well, you don't want that only people with Nix package manager or NixOS will be able to compile your software, probably. Yeah. But other than that, it is really cool. It is something at least I have craved, an organized system where everything lives in one directory. I don't need to go each single time to different files. Then, oh, I can recall where I have placed something. Oh, I think, okay, let's go to internet, search for default path, search for 5 minutes, can find anything. Okay, let's question an LLM. Oh, it has given me a false directory because it has been changed or something else, I don't know. And then I found it. Oh, 10 minutes have been passed already, and this is for each exactly thing, and then I forgot what I have actually done previously, because for example, there are some days that I want really to configure my operating system, there are some days that I don't want to do anything. It's just really hard, and here NixOS just completely solves all of these problems. And yeah, I don't have any more troubles now with installing 10 different versions of packages, and I can do whatever I feel like I want to do with the operating system. If I don't feel like configuring the operating system, I just don't configure it. That's all, and this is amazing. The coolest part about NixOS though is that if it works on one machine, it works on another, which means if something breaks for you, it means it breaks for others. And this is the coolest thing. How many times was there that you have stumbled upon something, an error, and you have seen that no one has the same issue? Now, well, if they have the same, for example, NVIDIA driver like you have decided to do, the same configuration that you have applied, they will have the same error that you have. Which means errors are also reproducible, which is, I think, the biggest, coolest thing probably for someone who is managing an application, because, well, trying to figure out how to reproduce a bug that the other user has and trying to fix it will be now much easier because of this. And I haven't seen someone talk about this. Maybe there are people talking about this, but I haven't just seen them. But yeah, this is also really cool. And the other options which I actually wanted to say is that, hey, if something doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean it doesn't work for others, which means there is probably something wrong with your configuration. If you go to those Discord, if you just try to find the default configuration, paste it in, it will work. So something is wrong with your configuration, probably. And if not, you can go to Discord or any other community service for NixOS, and you will pretty much easily, if you post it on forum or something like that, people will be able to reproduce the error and find the solution very easily. And that's really cool. So it means basically if someone else had the same problem, you'll be able to fix it. And the problem with that, of course, is so that it will happen like this, you will need to have a bigger community. You'll need to have more people using NixOS. And NixOS is still more of a niche, you can say. Yeah, I've configured NeoVim even with Nix Flakes, but it is also a niche in its own niche, you can say, or something like that. I don't know. Vim is its own niche. NixOS is its own niche. And combining all of that together in its own flake even is its niche in its own niche and niche. So, how much people will have the same problem? Not that many. But there will be still people, and LLMs are probably good at gathering as much information as possible because they analyze the whole internet right now, so scrape all of the information they can. So yeah, I hope this video was interesting for you. I wanted to do this kind of video for quite a long time, but I have all the time said to myself, no, I will not do this because it does not fit to all of my videos I have created. Maybe it will mean not really organizing feeling that it will have now, because does feel like a little differently. It feels more like a blog instead of what I've done. But actually, I want to do videos that feel more like blog. And hey, I do videos because it's interesting, I feel like, and I want to blog whatever I have created, whatever I learn down the path. Maybe because I want to make myself feel like I am more competent, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I want to give more values to the things I do, and I really feel like it does at least work. And maybe there are some people out there that will find this interesting and helpful, something else. Yeah, so yeah, that's cool. So if you have liked this video so far, if you have something else to say, you can do that too. If I have said something false and not correctly, please correct me, really. So that, hey, not only you will learn something, maybe I will too. Hopefully, from all of this. Yeah. Thank you for watching so far. I don't know how many people that will watch till the end, but I mean, doesn't really matter to me. Some way, yes, because I do really wish that people would have watched this just so that, hey, I could talk to someone at least. It's not like I'm talking to the nothing, but still, I'm not chasing views. Probably. I hope. So, no, I don't. So, yep. If you like NixOS, or you like some different distribution which you think is much better than NixOS, type it in comments. No, yeah. I will say at this end, I know I probably should have said it earlier, the distribution choice is really personal. Some might like one thing, some might prioritize different thing. That's why there is no one best distribution. That's why we have thousands of different distributions, because someone else thinks this is the most important part, at least for me, and maybe it will be for other persons, and I want to concentrate on it. And yeah, NixOS feels for me like home, but it may not be for you, and maybe there is a different distribution that works best for you, and it's also okay. Maybe you have not understand it completely, maybe you need more time, and taking time is also okay. Yeah, so if you have something to say, you can of course write it in comments, because I answer all of the comments. I read all of the comments at least, and I answer 99% of them. Sometimes I just don't know what to say, and so I don't say anything, and after time I don't know if I should reply or not. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.